He's the techno guy. He works in what they call a farm, which is a collocation center where data is stored from businesses all around the world, piped in instantly through fiber optics and so forth, and housed in a collocation center, which is nicknamed by many people who work in these farms because you have these long lines, like crops of server towers and people who watch over them, and make sure hackers don't get in and trollers don't get in are nicknamed Scarecrows, thus the name of the book. So this is how we meet Carver at the beginning of the book. Carver paced in the control room, watching over the front 40. The towers were spread out before him in perfect, neat rows. They hummed quietly and efficiently, and even with all he knew, Carver had to marvel at what technology had wrought. So much in so little space. Not a stream, but a swift and torrid river of data flowing by him every day, growing in front of him in tall steel stalks. All he needed to do was reach in, to look, and to choose. It was like panning for gold, but it was easier. He checked the overhead temperature gauges. All was perfect in the server room. He lowered his eyes to the screens on the workstations in front of him. His 3 engineers worked in concert on the current project. There had been an attempted breach thwarted by Carver's skills and readiness. Now comes the reckoning. The would-be intruder could not penetrate the walls of the farmhouse, but he had left his fingerprints all over it. Carver smiled as he watched his men retrieve the breadcrumbs, tracing the IP address through the traffic nodes, a high-speed chase back to the source. Soon Carver would know who his opponent was, what firm he was with, what he had been looking for, and the advantage he hoped to gain. And Carver would take a retaliatory action that would leave the hapless contender crumpled and destroyed. Carver showed no mercy, ever. The man-trap alert buzzed from overhead. "Screens," Carver said. The 3 young men at the workstation typed commands in unison, which hid their work from the visitors. The control room door opened and McGinnis stepped in with a man in a suit. Carver had never seen him before. It was another dog and pony show. Carver shook the suit's hand. He was introduced as David Wyeth of the St. Louis law firm of Mercer and Gissel. It sounded like crisp white shirts and tweed. Carver noticed that Wyeth had a barbecue stain on his tie. Whenever they came into town, McGinnis took them over to Rosie's Barbecue. Carver gave Wyeth the show by rote, covering everything and saying everything the silk-stocking lawyer wanted to hear. Wyeth was on a barbecue and due diligence mission. He would go back to St. Louis and report on how impressed he had been. He would tell them that this was the way to go if the firm wanted to keep up with changing technologies and times. And McGinnis would get another contract. All the while he spoke, Carver was thinking about the intruder they had been chasing. Out there somewhere, not expecting the comeuppance that was speeding toward him. Carver and his young disciples would loot his personal bank accounts, take his identity, and hide photos of men having sex with 8-year-old boys on his work computer. Then he would crash it with a replicating virus. When the intruder couldn't fix it, he would call in an expert. The photos would be found and the police would be called. The intruder would no longer be a concern. Another threat kept away by the Scarecrow.